Ambassador, good to see you again. How you doing?
Good to be with you, Sean. We've hit the ground running up in the United Nations. On the one hand, we're cleaning house. We're kind of dozing the place. On the other hand, we need to put a big spotlight on a lot of the president's priorities.
Yeah, well, here's one that I wouldn't have had on my bingo card. This issue that's going on in Nigeria with Christians. I saw you've done a great job of highlighting what's happening there. Just for people who are hearing this for the first time, explain what's happening in Nigeria with Christians there.
Well, it's about 50-50 Muslim and Christian in Nigeria, which, by the way, is the most populous country in Africa and the sixth most populous in the world. So very densely populated, mixed from a Muslim and Christian standpoint. But the problem is there's dozens of terrorist groups, including one a lot of people may have heard of, Boko Haram, that are ISIS affiliated, Al Qaeda affiliated, and are literally murdering, raping, pillaging, burning churches, and have a full genocide ongoing against Christians in that country. So that's kind of the broader picture. A lot of people are hearing about this right now for the first time, but this isn't new to President Trump. During his first term, he raised this as an issue with the Nigerian government, told them they need to do better to protect Christians and religious liberties. And when they didn't, he designated them under U.S. law what's called a country of particular concern, which allows us to do things like withhold aid, sanctions, and other diplomatic tools. But it really puts the Nigerian government on notice. He did it his first term, and guess what? The Biden team lifted all of that. Shocker. Remember, they also lifted the terrorist designation on the Houthis. And so the terrorists took that as a green light. And now we've seen just in the past year, literally, Sean, Bibles being burned, churches being burned, congregations being machine gunned in their churches, priests beheaded. And the most gruesome thing in my mind as a father, little girls being abducted, forced to become ISIS brides, and sold into sex slavery. It is despicable. The government has to do more. And thank God for President Trump, who's leaning into protecting Christians around the world.
So when you talk to the other ambassadors from the other countries, are they aware? Are they helping? Or is this a U.S. issue that we're dealing with on our own?
Yeah, they're aware, but there's nothing like U.S. leadership, right? And nothing like President Trump's leadership, because you know what? People know there will be consequences if they don't come along. So that's one piece. But I think the bigger picture is Christians are being persecuted all over the world. It is the most persecuted religion around the world, across the Middle East, across North Africa. And according to a number of charities, 80% of Christians being persecuted are happening right in Nigeria. So it's a broader issue. It's a Nigeria issue. But for President Trump, this has been really a centerpiece for him going back years. He was the first president, Sean, to host a global gathering at the United Nations of world leaders and say, knock it off with persecuting Christians. We all should be able to worship, whether it's Christian, Muslim, Jewish, the anti-Semitism that you've seen going on. It is a basic fundamental right to worship as you see fit. But President Trump has really taken it on, not only with that gathering, with a task force that he's put together for anti-Christian bias in our own government, and including a faith office that he has operating out of the White House. So God bless him for taking this on. But it is most egregious around the world in Nigeria.
All right, guys, fall's upon us. That means if you want to have a luxurious night's sleep, do what I do. Switch your sheets over to Boll Branch. It's like staying in the nicest hotel you've ever stayed in your life. I feel like I close my eyes and I'm like, am I in the really nice hotel I stayed in once? But you can do that at home every night. Here's the kicker. To get Boll Branch sheets, you have to use my URL, Boll and Branch, BOLL bollandbranch.com/Spicer. You got to use it exactly like that. bollandbranch.com/Spicer for 25% off and unlock free shipping on your first order. Some exclusions apply. Why has an issue like this gotten so little attention? I mean, I would assume that regardless of what other countries, that there'd be a lot of like media attention on an issue like this.
Well, Sean, I mean, we could probably spend a couple hours talking about the bias in the mainstream media, right? I mean, I'm up in New York at the United Nations. How many protests did we see over the plight of the Palestinians? We haven't heard a peep over the plight of Christians. You even go back, if you remember, Christians in Iraq, when under the Obama administration, ISIS came roaring through and they were being persecuted, chased out of their home and slaughtered then. So I think there is just a broader left-wing bias, frankly, that we see in our conversation, not only nationally, but around the world on the plight of Christians. And again, we could probably have a longer conversation on the oppressed and oppressor and, you know, all of that kind of Marxist left-wing ideology, but it's pervasive. It's not getting the attention that it's due. And that's why I think so many people were so grateful, not only to see President Trump bring this up again, but then to see a rap superstar, a celebrity like Nicki Minaj say, thank you, President Trump. People should be able to worship as they please. It's a fundamental right. And then she took it a step further. I invited her to come here to the United Nations to hear from experts on religious liberties. And she accepted. So that is, I think, a phenomenal, courageous act on her part. I told her that it would be easy to sit back and, you know, the easiest action is inaction. But she really stepped forward in a huge way.
I was going to ask you about that. So you guys reached out to her because you knew that she cared about the issue. Is that how it came to? I mean, because when I saw the B-roll shots of you and Nicki Minaj, I was like, okay, I did not see that coming. So did you guys just exactly so did your staff say to you, or did you know of her interest in this? How did that relationship happen, and where does it go from here? Are you guys now texting buddies, or like how do we keep her involved in this issue?
Well, number one, I'm proud to say I'm now an honorary ambassador to Barbie Nation, which are all of her followers. You know, you have Swifties that follow Taylor Swift. She has what she calls the Barbs. But listen, in all seriousness, she is one of the most followed women in the world. This is a whole swath of people that may not be paying attention to this issue that now are. And as a person of faith, I'm just incredibly grateful that she has taken this on, number one. Number two, how did it come about? I have to give credit to our mutual friend, Alex Bruzewitz, who saw her responding to the president and said, you know, Mike, the United Nations is a global forum. You have so many countries involved. As we were just saying, this shouldn't just be the United States calling this out. This should be a collective cry for the world. This isn't about politics or taking sides. This is a moral imperative. This is just about doing the right thing. So, you know, I threw it out there and invited her, and she accepted. And we just had an amazing panel. Harris Faulkner came and moderated it. And we had a pastor call in from Nigeria. And keep in mind, Sean, when they go public like that, they're putting their lives on the line. It called in from Nigeria and talked about the atrocities that are happening. The day before the panel, 25 schoolgirls were kidnapped out of their school and disappeared. The day after, and this video is online, you saw gunmen barge into a church and start killing people with AK-47s as they're worshiping. And this is happening on a daily basis by a lot of charities. Are saying literally thousands and thousands of churches have been burned in the most recent years. And our demand of the Nigerian government is enough. You need to step it up, and you need to protect your people. You need to protect these religious minorities.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to call Bruzewitz and get myself a little Nicki Minaj on the show or something. Hey, Ambassador.
Can I just throw one more thing that I just think is incredibly disgusting, and I just called them out for this. It won't surprise you. You know, back to the issue of why is the world so silent on it. Rolling Stone is rolling this kind of ridiculous headline of Nicki Minaj spreading misinformation.
What?
When there is a body of actual video, there are people coming online, pastors, ministers, worshipers, talking about their loved ones that have been executed literally for wearing a cross. We just had a woman, she just came on another network and talked about 110 girls that were kidnapped. 109 were forced to read the Quran. Her daughter refused to denounce Jesus and is still being held captive 7 years later. So these stories are very real, and shame on these media outlets for, one, trying to say it's not, and then two, trying to smear her name for having the courage to give voice to the voiceless.
Just to be clear, Rolling Stone is claiming that the atrocities are not occurring.
They're claiming, and they're trying to smear her, our mission here, and everyone else saying it's misinformation, that, Muslims are being killed as well. And that is absolutely true. But there is a huge body of evidence that Christians are specifically targeted for their faith. Unreal.
Well, Ambassador, I appreciate you taking the time to give us the forum to spread the word on what you're doing. Congratulations on your newfound friendship. And I'm going to have to download some of that this weekend so I can catch up and become one of the Barbs or Barbies or whatever.
That's
it is.
Okay. I'll see you in pink next time.
All right. Ambassador Mike Waltz, thanks for everything you're doing up there in New York for us.
All right. Thank you.
You bet.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.